The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s flagship infrastructure projects have exceeded 10 trillion pesos in estimated costs. Socioeconomic Planning Undersecretary Joseph Capuno said the total cost reached 10.52 trillion pesos in September, up from 9.6 trillion pesos in April. Physical connectivity projects account for 9 trillion pesos, water 821 billion pesos, power 60.7 billion pesos, education 34.5 billion pesos, and housing 17.16 billion pesos. Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan has said that the government is falling short of its full-year growth target of 5.5% to 6.5%. He warned that reaching the target would require unusually strong growth in the final 3 months. The economy would need to expand by 7% in the fourth quarter, a pace current data do not support. Balisacan still called the 5% growth recorded in the first 3 quarters quite respectable. The Economy and Planning Department says the Philippines may not hit its 5.5 to 6.5% GDP growth targets this year because of a mix of various factors. Paulo Barcelon is on the line for us from Mandaluyong City for the details. Paulo, go ahead.
Robert DepEd Secretary Arsenio Balisacan says this is because of the unraveling of the flood control scandal and corruption allegations that plagued the country in Q3 2025, while a slew of natural disasters such as earthquakes and super typhoons affected the country in the last part of the year. He adds the country needs to perform at 7% GDP this quarter, something he sees as unlikely amid targets in the first 3 quarters also not being hit. It's now back to the drawing board for the country's economic team as they look to a rebound by 2026 as the country hosts the ASEAN Summit. In terms of its accomplishments, the DepEd says it has verified 9,290 out of 9,855 published flood control projects, and it also supports a stronger independent commission for infrastructure, putting bills in the House and Senate among one of the priorities of the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council, or LEDA. In the meantime, the DepEd says they are monitoring over 200 flagship projects in total costing over 10 trillion pesos, and the DepEd has also approved 31 major government projects costing 1.5 trillion pesos, majority of which will be completed after the term of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Robert.
Thank you for that report, Paulo Barcelon. Meanwhile, direct flights between Australia and the Philippines are expected to boost tourism, business, and cultural ties. Jetstar has launched Perth-Manila flights at Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3, offering a new gateway for travelers. Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco welcomed the move, highlighting its potential to strengthen links between the two countries. A coalition of former officials, business leaders, and church groups is pushing for more than 300 billion pesos in cuts to the 2026 national budget. The Roundtable for Inclusive Development, or RFID, cites corruption risks, calling for 175 million pesos cut from unprogrammed funds and flagging 110 billion pesos in social welfare as vulnerable. The group also demands accountability for confidential and intelligence funds outside the security sector, including those linked to Vice President Sara Duterte. The legal dispute between Eco-Leisure, led by former lawmaker Zaldy Co, and gaming firm Digiplus remains unresolved. Law firm Villaraza and Angkanko, representing Digiplus, confirmed the firm won an arbitration over its stake in Midas Hotel and Casino. They added that Eco-Leisure has filed an appeal in Pasig City, keeping the case pending. The conflict began when Digiplus sought to exit the partnership, valuing its stake at 2.5 billion pesos. Eco-Leisure initially offered to match the bid, but later lowered it to 1 billion pesos, citing unpaid reimbursements. Co is also under investigation for alleged plunder and bribery in public works projects from 2016 to 2024. For now, the future of the Midas Hotel partnership remains uncertain. And round 2 of the Discaya luxury car auction is set for Friday, testing the government's push to sell seized assets and boost non-tax revenues amid a tighter fiscal environment. Several unsold units from the first auction are back, including a 2023 Rolls-Royce Cullinan, a 2022 Bentley Bentayga, and a 2023 Toyota Sequoia and a 2022 Toyota Tundra, also seized over alleged smuggling and tax evasion. Public viewing is scheduled for December 2 and 3. A strong auction signals stricter enforcement, fairer competition, and a tougher stance on smuggling. We're taking a short break. More stories are up next. You're watching Business Brief. Levanta Renewables and Triconti Windcraft Group are teaming up on the Atimonan onshore wind project in Quezon, an 88.7 billion peso investment. Awarded under the government's Energy Auction 4, the project is set to begin commercial operations in 2028, adding capacity amid tight supply and high power costs. Triconti's entry reflects deeper foreign investment in Philippine renewables, aiming to turn projects from paper to power and benefit local communities. For businesses, the wind farm means a more diversified grid, less reliance on imported fuel, and potentially cheaper, more reliable energy. Saudi energy giant ACWA Power is teaming up with Meralco PowerGen to build a 125-megawatt solar farm in Concepcion, Iloilo. The project combines ACWA's renewable expertise with MGen's local operations, boosting grid reliability and clean supply in Western Visayas. Land acquisition is underway, with construction expected 6 to 8 months after due diligence. The project promises more diversified energy sources and, over time, potentially more stable prices for businesses. Consumer loans remain strong amid slower economic growth. On BNC's Business 360, Eric Luchanco, Chief Sustainability and Finance Officer of BPI, said loan demand has shown resilience at the 20% growth range for 2025. Meanwhile, corporate loans are holding steady in the high single digits. However, Luchanco adds that sentiment could weaken if corruption levels persist.
I think it's primarily that we're going to see mechanisms introduced that will allow us to reduce the corruption levels moving forward. And I think that's very important in people's minds, because if nothing changes, then there's going to be real disappointment. So if things don't get resolved in a manner that people are happy with, then we may see that sentiment translate into reduced loan growth numbers heading into 2026.
Yeah.
Globe Telecom has said that its AI energy systems have cut over 125 million pesos in power costs this year across thousands of cell sites and facilities. The system saves more than 11 million kilowatt hours, with some sites cutting energy use up to 30% without affecting network quality. Lower energy costs ease pressure on consumer prices, improve reliability, and free capital for investment as data demand rises. The Bank of the Philippine Islands has opened a new phygital flagship branch in Makati, blending digital and in-person services. The Buendia Center offers self-service tools, private advisory pods, a cafe kiosk, and even an HR recruitment area. The branch runs on 100% renewable energy, signaling faster moves on sustainability despite high power costs. For business clients, the model means fewer counters, more digital touchpoints, and faster processing for loans, payments, and cash management. As the country grapples with a growing corruption scandal, different industries are feeling the ripple effects. In the Philippine auto market, sales are holding steady, and one segment is quietly powering ahead. Our mobility correspondent, G. Baroga, has the details.
Car sales in the country have been cruising at about the same speed for the first 10 months of 2025. That's according to the latest numbers from CAMPI, the Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines, along with the Truck Manufacturers Association. As of October, sales are just over 383,000, slightly lower than last year's 384,000. At the launch of Campi's 30th anniversary coffee table book, President Attorney Romel Gutierrez says the industry is still on track to meet its sales target.
The 500,000 units remains an aspirational figure, but we are confident that come year end, we would be able to at least close, we'll have figures close to 500,000, if not a little over 500,000.
Commercial vehicles still lead the pack when it comes to growth, but electric vehicles are picking up speed. Campi reports that EVs have already hit 24,000 units so far this year, reflecting a 6% market share.
We saw increase in sales in the electric vehicle. Electrified vehicles. That includes, of course, hybrid vehicles and pure electric vehicles. So it's really the market for that segment is really growing, and it's really making an impact on the total industry sales.
Another shift this year, the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act has officially ended tax exemptions for pickup trucks. It was expected to slow sales, but Campi says pickups are still holding their own. And on talks of a leadership shakeup in Campi, Attorney Gutierrez says changes like these are normal and any announcement will come next year. After 13 years leading the organization, he says the experience has been meaningful.
I still don't have plans, but I'm sure I'll be moving on from who knows, yeah. But it has always been a sense of fulfillment in the having to be in the Campi at in a leadership position.
Campi still sees positive growth this 2025, and in 2026, the car industry is ready for a better year with new model introductions and an improved supply chain. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
Manny V. Pangilinan has announced the departure of First Vice President John Gonzalez effective today. John Gonzalez spent over a decade at PLDT Enterprise, holding key leadership roles that shaped the company's telco and ICT operations. At departure, he fled strategic business development and consulting services for PLDT Enterprise and served as president and CEO of PLDT Clark Telecom. The Philippine Stock Exchange, or PSE, has said that Century Peak Holdings, owned by Wilfredo Keng, will continue trading after meeting reporting obligations. The PSE cleared the company to resume operations after it filed its quarterly report on time. Previously, Century Peak and SunTrust Resort Holdings faced suspension if reports were not filed by November 29. SunTrust remains at risk for non-compliance. We're taking another short break at a look at how Philippine shares did today when we return. Stay with us. You're watching Business Brief. Asian shares are mixed, with Tokyo's Nikkei 225 down 2% after weak factory activity. Japan, South Korea, and Australia are in the red, while Hong Kong, China, and Singapore remain in the green. The US dollar is flat versus Hong Kong and Singapore dollars, but weaker against the yen, baht, and Australian dollar. Gold rises slightly, oil moves higher, while Bitcoin and Ethereum drop around 6%. Philippine shares dropped into the 5,900 level. The PSCI ended 0.5% lower to 59.89. Majority of the sectoral indices were in the red, with holding firms falling the most at nearly 2%. Advancers narrowly outpaced decliners 99 to 97, with value turnover at 6.5 billion pesos. The day's most active stocks were mixed, with Philex Mining rising the most at 4%. SM Investments fell the most at almost 3%. On currencies, the peso trades at 58.61 against the US dollar, up from the previous close of 58.65. Hotel 101 Global Holdings is expanding to Milan, taking its Condotel model deeper into Europe. The 429-room four-star project in San Donato Milanese is scheduled for 2028, with units around 200,000 euros and projected revenue of 85.8 million euros. It joins Hotel 101's pipeline in Japan, Spain, the US, and the Philippines, signaling a global push. For Philippine investors, this marks a move toward more diversified earnings and tests the brand's international reach. Meanwhile, Yuchenko-led RCBC is riding strong consumer spending ahead of the holiday peak, showing household demand remains resilient. Credit card billings rose 32%, receivables 37%, and active cardholders hit 1.4 million. The growth is driven by RCBC's Pulse app and heavy holiday spending in travel, dining, and e-commerce. Credit cards now account for 39% of the bank's consumer loan book, one of its fastest-growing businesses. For retailers, this signals a healthy payment ecosystem and resilient consumer demand despite slower economic growth. The Araneta Group is investigating a cybersecurity incident detected last Friday. Araneta Center Incorporated, TicketNet Incorporated, and Dairy Queen were affected. The company has enlisted international cybersecurity experts to determine the full scope. The Anti-Money Laundering Council has flagged a 100 million peso bank transfer involving a firm owned by the wife of Commission on Audit Commissioner Mario Lipana. Investigators focused on two transfers from Lebron Construction to Olympus Mining and Builders Group Philippines Corporation, tied to 122 million pesos in Bulacan flood control projects. Former Public Works and Highways officials said that Lipana sought project listings and later pushed 1.4 billion pesos in insertions, raising suspicions in the alleged ghost flood control scheme. Stockholm's Museum of Architecture and Design has unveiled 151 edible creations for its annual Christmas gingerbread house competition. Creations include a gingerbread Labubu, the Titanic, and a miniature Louvre heist, all under this year's theme, Love of Design and Architecture. Art Acting Director Karin Nilsson said the exhibition celebrates Christmas, love, and hope. Winners are announced December 14, with the display running through mid-January. The Louvre is raising ticket prices 45% for most non-EU visitors to fund urgent renovations. The hike follows a $102 million crown jewel theft, prompting 100 new cameras and repairs. Starting January 14, non-EU tourists will pay 32 euros, generating 15 to 20 million euros annually. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.